so much has been put on being able to fall pregnant and have a healthy birth, then there is emphasis on falling pregnant and not it working. Having a miscarriage, in as much as you may have not had the opportunity to meet the child, compared to a person who loses a child, the pain is the same. First miscarriage was a normal one. I was in the house. I didn't even feel it. It just fell out. Naturally, how you describe what infertility is, it is an inability to fall pregnant after having tried for more than 6 months.
Lavi is a new skincare range that recently launched. It is for face and for body. We deal with hyperpigmentation, anti-aging, wrinkles, natural glow. We also deal with dark inner areas. We target dark inner thighs, dark armpits, dark neck, dark elbows, dark knees, you name it. We also have a shaving combo. This shaving combo deals with ingrowns and shaving bumps. Both men and women can use this good quality product shaving range. We've got good actives in our product from glycolic acid, hyaluronic acid, kojic acid, and many more. You can contact us on the WhatsApp number that is popping on the screen, or you can reach out to us on all our social media platforms. We are here for all your skin needs. Hi everyone, welcome to O Narrative Podcast by myself, Promise Magunyane. This podcast, it's about marriage and family dynamics. You know, if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, you need to write to us on the email address that is popping on the screen. Do not forget to put your number, preferably your WhatsApp number, so that we can contact you once we vet your story. Guys, we do have a sister podcast on this very same channel. It's called The Working Wife, The Working Woman Podcast. That particular podcast is really about women working, women inspiring each other to work and do it for themselves. I always say it's good to have a man do stuff for you, but it's much more better if you can also do stuff for yourself. So that particular podcast airs on Sundays at 6 p.m. and this one is Wednesdays at 1 p.m. So guys, today is another installment and I've got an amazing lady that has a story that most women are in, you know, and Matshepo.
Yes.
Matshepo, I'm Tepiso. Nagina promise. So
Obito.
yes, Matshepo, promise. Tepiso. Yeah. Ma'am, thank you so much for making time for us. Thank you so much
for having me.
coming.
Big business today.
Yes.
My name is Matshepo.
Yeah.
But for those who understand me and my work, I am Tepi Infertility Warrior.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of power in calling yourself an infertility warrior, but there's also vulnerability in that. And I am an infertility activist. I do a lot of work raising awareness about infertility. And more than anything, I am an infertility patient myself. And thanks for having me.
Thanks. Before we get into you being Matshepo, the infertility warrior, let's speak about little Matshepo.
Yes.
Because I think where you are now, you started somewhere, you know. And I would like us at the end to tie little Matshepo and big Matshepo and see where they meet each other.
So I grew up in the Val, in Wana, we lived in Fanabale Park.
Yeah.
Both parents, grew up in a home where both parents were there. Loving home. I had siblings. Born, bred, buttered in that place. It is still entrenched in my heart.
Yeah.
And I still love it to the core of me, but I'm currently staying in Pretoria. The young me was lively, bubbly, active child. I used to do sports. I was, captain of almost every sports team I was in. I was a very active child. I did cross country, netball, whatever, athletics. I was there. I was that proper, class. What's it? What do you call it?
Teacher's pet.
Teacher's pet, yes, that's what I was.
You look like one,
And
actually.
thank you. And I loved books. I loved studying. I was very rooted in God from as little as I can remember.
Yeah.
I grew up in the Roman Catholic Church, and being raised by both my mother and my grandmother. There were times that were split, but mostly Kiholezi Evatoni with my grandmother in the Val. So growing up, that was the kind of child I was. Ke rata batho, ke rata bophelo, ke rata Modimo. Was always me, but very much centered in upskilling myself intellectually. I've always read from a young age. I've always, even reading the Bible was never really. I found myself, it was not really about the spiritual work, but it was really about understanding, sentence structures and, reading paragraphs, how to make a story and, understanding what the narrative of the whole Bible was in the same way that I would read a book. I loved reading more than anything. It was a part of peace, but it also the upskilling and the literature in it and what you call linguistics, or understanding the English language better.
Yeah.
Is why I loved reading more than anything. Yeah.
Grade 12, you matriculate.
Yeah.
Where do you end up? Where do you go? What do you study?
So I've always been very good at accounting and mathematics. I'm one of those very few children who made a decision when they were in grade 8 that when I grow up, I want to be an accountant. And I ended up being an accountant.
Oh my God. Only a few.
Yeah, very few.
Can choose from such a young age and take it through.
Exactly. Because what happens is along the way, things won't happen the way you plan. We also change as people. So your dreams might not always be your dreams, but they can transform into better dreams as well. So it doesn't mean that the fact that you can't end up being an accountant means that you're a failure or you couldn't be consistent with what your initial dreams were.
Yeah.
But dreams do change, and it shows transformation and it shows a growth pattern in a person. So I'm not saying that because I remained stagnant there wasn't growth, but it's just that I was fortunate enough to be one of those people where really when I said it, I put it to play and it unfolded in my life, and I became what I aspired to be at a young age. So I decided that I'm going to go to university. I went to the Northwest University in Vanderbilt Park in the Val, and graduated. But it took time even then to even get a job because, the market is scarce. Nobody's trying to hire people. But however, by God's grace and hard work and putting yourself out there, somebody looked at me, amazing woman who's still my mentor, decided, what, I'll take a chance on you. Let's see. And I think the both of us never regretted that decision.
She's still your mentor today?
She's still my mentor till today. Amazing woman. She's also a chartered accountant. So, that's what happened after matric. And
how do you... I know I'm about to just dwell on this, but I think I should ask you, how do you, right after matric or in matric or after university, like choose a mentor? How do you identify someone as a mentor, and how do you approach them? And I'm saying this because there is a grade 12, there is a first year, or even an older person who's looking for a mentor, or who can explore the possibility of having a mentor.
Yes.
I did not grow up believing in mentors, but I've realized that it was because I did not want to be held accountable. I did not want to put targets, and I just remained low. I never reached for the heights. And I understood that I did not believe in coaching, mentorship, because I just did not want to do the work. I did not want somebody to say, you have to do this. You said you're going to do this. And now that I've got a mentor in my fifth stream of income, which is Forever Living, I am reaching heights, and I'm just excelling. So the idea of having a mentor is so necessary.
No, truly it is. I think you touched on it when you mentioned the accountability part, because sometimes we make dreams and aspirations for ourselves. We create a vision of where we want to go. However, without the proper mission plan, you can't get there. And what is necessary to put as tasks or deliverables to your mission statement, getting to your vision,
Yeah.
is to set it out in a clear way, design ways of getting there,
Yeah.
and creating an environment that can incubate that dream or that mission moving forward. And some of those environmental factors include having accountability, not
Yeah.
only for yourself, but having people you can be accountable to, because when you stray, they are the people that will lead you lead you back onto your path.
Yeah.
But more than anything, these are people that will inspire you and make you want to reach higher than what your mission statement is, where you exceed your own expectations,
Yeah.
you exceed your own capabilities.
Yes.
These are people who will push you into those spaces. So I see that if I was in matric, or if I was in varsity,
Yeah.
having a mentor, even with my first job, it made me start seeing beyond what my eyes
Yes.
can see,
Yes.
but beyond, further, 5 steps ahead. No. I may have thought that it's all about just getting a job, but it really is about networking, getting to
Yeah.
know what people are doing in the industry, getting to know how people are addressing themselves, how they are carrying themselves, what conversations they find themselves in. Is what having a mentor will push you to do.
Yeah.
But more than anything, it truly is fundamentally about being accountable,
Accountable.
to someone, and drawing inspiration from that very same person.
Love that. Love that.
Thank you.
Let's go into your infertility message and story. You know, how do you encounter that part of your life? How does it start?
So I grew up, like I said, as an active child.
Yeah.
And, in hindsight, when you start thinking about it, I really realized that being an active child is what suppressed some of the symptoms, because I was so busy moving around and being here and there. I never realized that there were fundamentally problems as soon as I started my period, about the fact that I'd have a difficult journey with my fertility. I started very early, and you'll see when you go out there and do your research and read what health professionals are saying, that some of the symptoms that you need to be conscious of when your child starts your period early could be a sign that they might develop or have problems with fertility later on in life. But I started very early. Things like, puberty, when your breasts start coming in, happened quite early. For me, as early as I was 9, 8.
Okay.
So my period already came in at 10. So already there, you could already see that development was very quick. Over and above that, I ended up having a very heavy period from inception. It was extremely heavy.
Yeah.
And like I said, because I was an active child, when I got my period, it was like, oh, okay, it's happened. Mom, this is what's happening. She was like, okay, cool. Do this, this, and that. You'll be cool. And then I carried on. So I never felt the shame of, oh my God, what's happening to my body? Because I was more interested in outside, like being active, running, going to the gym. I was that child. Even the subliminal pain issues, that I they were there, but I didn't take it very seriously. For me, it was more the flow that was just, I was almost anemic, is how heavy my bleeding was. So, and then, it becomes normal. You grow with it. Nobody is there. I mean, your parents are there. You can talk to them about stuff, but you don't make it abnormal, because everybody tells you that having a period is supposed to be painful. It's supposed to be this and that. So you don't really say anything. And also, as parents, it's not like they're going to knock on your door and say, is it normal? They'll tell you, is it happening? But does it feel normal? You don't have a benchmark of what normal is.
You also don't know.
Yeah. And then I went on to finish my high school. In varsity, that's when I think I aided my body not working with me, because I stopped what I needed to do. Varsity is complete game changer.
Yeah.
You're more focused on school, on socializing, making friends, going out. So you're not going to the gym and dating. And I ended up losing my virginity in varsity. So it's some of those things that then meant that my body was no longer working with me to combat the things that I wasn't aware were happening subliminally. And then that's when I started feeling the full symptoms. I was a child who never had pimples, like weird things on my face.
Yeah.
Because I was active. And I get to varsity, my face just started changing. My body just blew up. And, it really became more painful. I felt the physical pain of what a period is supposed to be because I was not helping my body in terms of its recovery. So I ended up also getting married very young to my ex-husband. And part of being married as a newlywed man, the first things that come to your mind after I do, yes, it's let's start a life together. But you wonder, bana, I went, Selena Hanakabana, and
What year is it? When do you get married and how old are you?
so currently I am 30.
Yeah.
When I got married to my ex-husband, I was 21.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it your varsity boyfriend?
Yes, he was we met in high school, and then we carried on dating till varsity as well. So, he was a great man, and it was a good time. And yes, people will tell you it's young to get married at 21.
Yeah.
However, if you're rooted in Christianity the way that I am, it's not really about being ready. It's about making the covenant with a person to be one with God and, honor God with that love that you have. So that's where we were coming from because we were both Christian. And it worked out for the best until, some of the stuff happening in the relationship involving the infertility and some of the other underlying things because no marriage is perfect.
Yeah.
So, that's where the problems with my infertility actually started. Yeah.
Prior to you getting married, obviously you never knew that you are having fertility issues.
Yes, I didn't. I just thought that maybe it's the different contraceptive methods because I remember for the longest times I struggled to find one that works for me. So in school, they'll tell you as soon as you turn 16, you need to go tlhaba injection, and it wasn't working for me. I could feel the chemical symptoms of it, and I didn't like it. I went off it when I got to varsity. I started using the pill, but that was just the worst decision because I'm a very forgetful person in general. And I never knew that actually being forgetful and exhausted are some of the symptoms of having PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is what I then eventually discovered I had.
Yeah.
But I discovered it years after. No, this is why I'm like this, why I feel chronic fatigue sometimes, and why or like I said, forgetful, having a foggy memory about things. Some of the symptoms that people don't explain are part of having PCOS. So it's to tell you the truth, it was when I started really engaging and realizing that my changing contraceptive methods could have been the reason that I may have had a problem fundamentally. But I stand to be proven wrong. But the fact that I also changed until I got to the one that worked for me, it was tumultuous. It really was tumultuous, to tell you the truth. But we finally got there, and it was hard to come to that realization that I wasn't aware, but eventually I was getting to a point where I need to realize that now I have an infertility. It's not just a contraceptive issue problem, but I'm having a fertility problem.
Sure. You get married.
Yeah.
After you get married, naturally, I don't know if it's naturally, but for most,
yes,
their natural next step is to start having children, And do you discuss that, hi, we're going to start having kids, let's try for kids? And
yeah. So I think there was an excitement as well.
Yeah.
Because I think with him, just in the terms of the family that he grew up in, it was something that he was looking forward to. And at the time, like I said, I changed contraceptive methods and I was using a Marina now before we got married. And when I took it out, it was supposed to literally be like, okay, now we're ready. Because that's what the gynecologist said.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have a problem. And I took it out. We struggled for 6 months. That's when we went to the doctor and like, doctor, there's something wrong. Or naturally, or how you describe what infertility is, it is an inability to fall pregnant after having tried for more than 6 months.
Okay.
Going to a year and a half. So, because it's supposed to really, 6 months is a long time for you to be trying and for nothing to happen.
Yeah.
And this is when we were like, okay, let's go to the general practitioner. We went and when we got there, because he's a general practitioner, he doesn't really have the full expertise on how to address a fertility problem. So he was like, no, guys, take this medication, take that medication. It should work. But instead, what he did is not address structurally maybe what could be the problem with me.
Yeah.
And he thought, okay, maybe she's not ovulating. Let me give her medication that forces her to ovulate. And what the risk of that is why people end up having fraternal twins is because you force a lot of eggs to mature. And then, people end up having multiple pregnancies, twins, triplets, and all of that. Whereas the problem is not actually the eggs, because the eggs were actually fine. He needed to go in and check structurally what was the challenge that was happening in there. And I had my pregnancy, the first one, and I had a miscarriage. First miscarriage was a normal one. I was in the house. I didn't even feel it. It just fell out. And I was like, okay.
How far were you?
I was 8 weeks to 9 weeks at the time. And that was the first blow that we experienced as a young couple, for you to go through something like that. More than anything, because you were so excited.
Yeah.
You were so excited about it, and you were looking forward to it. And more than anything, you're never ready for the disappointment of your first miscarriage. Nobody prepares you for that. Not even habaulaya or abaunyala hore. This is what you need to do for your man, in-laws. But this is what you do when you experience disappointment and a miscarriage as a mother, or losing a child as a mother, because I believe that having a miscarriage, in as much as you may have not had the opportunity to meet the child, compared to a person who loses a child, the pain is the same. Truly is the same. It pulls away a part of you that you can never get back. So it was heart-wrenching. I was grateful to have a partner who was in the feeling with me,
Yeah.
who was present with me as we were going through that together. And he was affected by it too. After that, like I said, we went to the general practitioner, and he gave me medication that he was not supposed to give me, not realizing that creating more eggs in the situation where your blocks are tubed, you force those eggs.
Your tubes are blocked.
Yeah.
Your blocks are tubed.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Your tubes are blocked.
Yeah.
Spoonerism. Is that you force then the eggs to get implanted in those blocked tubes because you were not interested to find out structurally what was happening.
Did you not see a gynecologist?
So this initially, because obviously at the time when the marriage was starting out, we just had bare minimum. So we didn't even have healthcare or health insurance or medical aid. So we went to see a general practitioner. And he just didn't care to understand my condition, prescribed medication that produced ovulation, and then the eggs or the pregnancy ended up getting stuck in the tubes because he didn't find out whether the problem was in the tubes or not. So that's when I lost my first tube.
Is it the fallopian tube?
Yes, I had what they call an ectopic pregnancy.
Yeah.
So the baby literally implants itself in the tube. They grow in the tube, and then it becomes a bit risky for you to carry on with that kind of pregnancy. And it then becomes an emergency case where they need to take you immediately to the hospital to voluntarily ask them to terminate the pregnancy.
Is this your second pregnancy?
This is the second pregnancy. So the first one was a normal miscarriage. And wow, what a traumatic decision that was, because
I'm sure
you're sitting in the hospital. You want this baby. You're already fallen in love with this baby. And you're expecting this baby. At the time, I think I was almost approaching 10 weeks.
About to finish first trimester.
You excited. But it's painful because you could feel that something is not growing normally. You're only aching on the one side. And why is it aching on the one side? And not realizing that your baby is actually growing just in your tube.
Ish.
And wow, it was... It was a very difficult decision to make because I felt like a mother in that moment where I want to protect my child. I want to have this child, and I have to sit there and make a decision to save my life or save. At this point, it's not like you can take out the baby and incubate them. They're too small to exist. They need to stay in your body. And we sat down with my husband and we prayed for about 3 hours because he was sitting with me in the hospital the whole night making that decision.
Yeah.
And in the morning, I was like, you know what? God, let your will be done.
Sure.
Let it be done. And then that's when I lost my first tube.
It must be
and it changed.
traumatic
It is.
because there are people that do they terminate their pregnancies, which is
Yes.
abortion, and this is their choice.
Mm,
So I can only imagine when you are there and you are it's a forced
yeah.
decision.
Yeah. It's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard because, especially when you want it, when you want it so bad and you're in a perfect space where
Yes.
you can be able to take care of this baby and you want to raise this child, and you have to now make a decision that is not only, it kind of almost goes against what you believe as a Christian, but also it comes in between the relationship itself because you're taking away joy and replacing it with grief. It really is the worst possible place for you to be in when you're still young in your marriage and you're still trying to grow and mature together, you know. So it was heartbreaking. It truly was. And the grief management thereof, especially being young, was also hard.
Yeah.
It was hard. It is grief. There is grief in losing a child when they are still in your body, or not after birth. It's grief. There is grief in having a miscarriage. People need to understand that. It doesn't mean because you never connected physically with the soul and you saw him breathing oxygen that you don't go through grief. People go through grief after miscarriages, and it hurts. It hurts in the same type of way. It really does. So, but yeah, we made it through.
Yeah.
And, with the support of family and therapy and church, we were able to come back to each other, reconnect with one another, and be hopeful again. So we restarted our fertility journey, taking our folic acids. We were hopeful again. And it takes a lot to tap into hope again after you've had such a big disappointment. Because not only are you trying to move away from the trauma of what happened, but you're also depending on your husband to carry you through into your next phase. And he's also depending on you to still lead him and be an example of God so that he can continue to lead the relationship forward. Because sometimes these are some of the things that we never understand about men is that we think that they might not care. But most of the time it's because they don't know how to. If anything, they're only trying, and the only way that they can get inspiration to be wise is if they find God in pieces of their lives. If they can find God in you, they can find God in fellowship, if they can find God at work or wherever it is, it will inspire that wisdom for them to continue to lead. And as a partner, as a wife, if your husband is unable to find a piece of God in you, he loses himself. Who wants to find direction in clubs, in girls, in dinto tsa lefatshe, a lebala hore sometimes really that spark he can find in you to be a good man and a good leader, and part of leading means providing that emotional support. And most of our men don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And we're quick to say they're trash, but nobody taught them how to do that because a lot of them are either raised in homes where it's just the mom, and the mom is raising him while dealing with the trauma of being left by the dad.
Yeah.
Or the dad having passed away, that there's no one there to really guide him in terms of what it is to be a man. What is it that you need to understand about your nature to be a provider and a protector? And what is it that you're guiding and providing for and protecting? It's not just money. It really is not just money. When you provide your family with things that are abstract like love, it's a form of provision.
Yeah.
Giving them love is a form of protection as well. Some of the things that we don't talk enough about because we're so interested in monna ke tjhelete. It's sad and it's a reality, but I think if we slowly change our outlook on that, it can help us as women to see our men as people who are also human.
Yeah.
They're not Superman. They are also really human, and they are trying in their own way to be leaders, but they need us to be their helpers as well.
So true. And I'm so glad that, like, as the Black community or as a people, we always think that we always just see a man as a provider, man as a provider, man as a provider. But once the provision lessens or is taken aside, or once the woman can also provide, you actually get to uncover layers of your husband that you did not know, you know. Like, for example, in my own marriage, like my husband is an amazing father, you know?
So beautiful.
And I'm like, what would I do without this person actually when it comes to the kids, you know? When it comes to parenting, who will I be without this man, you know? When it comes to, you know, when he walks in, maybe I'll be upstairs and then he walks in, maybe I'll be with the kids and they're downstairs, I'm upstairs. And when he walks in and I hear his voice, I'm like, oh,
Relaxed.
just here. You know, it's like my 7 grace is here. And that's how I would feel when my dad would walk in when I'm a child, you know. I'm like, there's just this person that is here that, you know, it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's so great. And that's not money. It's just him being present.
Security.
Security.
Yeah.
So I love that you touched on that. Anyway. Back to your story. You guys lose the second pregnancy. How is the relationship itself now?
It changed for the worst.
Yeah.
Because after this, I started using my marriage, and this is my accountability, to medicate my sense of loss, that it needed to be perfect. And if it wasn't, and if he wasn't there, and if he started doing funny things, I'm not on his case.
Yeah.
You see, not realizing that I'm actually pushing away my husband to be into something that he's not. You know, he's also looking at me and he's like, okay, maybe she's also changing. Her heart is changing. And then there's also other things like financial problems in the marriage. You know, what if she decides that maybe it's because of me, and then he just decides, okay, I need to be possessive. She's mine.
Yeah.
I need to have her, and I need to understand what's happening in her mind, because she's in this whirlwind that's happening in her life. I can't actually read her anymore.
Yeah.
And things like hunahanelana, osa accuser ntho tsa seleong, le wena o se mo shebile, you're like, you're not doing what I need you to do, because I need you to support, I need you to protect me. I'm losing my mind. I need you to be there. You start pitting against each other. It's no longer about the love. It's really about whatever else, the noise that's happening around you, pulled us apart.
Yeah.
You know, and it really got so bad. Very, very bad. I never thought I'd see that man in the way that I saw him, and in the things that he ended up, you know, doing. But yeah, we grew apart, which was sad, because these were two people who really loved each other, truly loved each other, and were best friends more than anything. And it was sad to see it. You know.
How long did your marriage last for?
Just close to 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
Because I left him, towards the end of 5 years.
Yeah.
Together, and it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard. But I think we both had to come to the realization that you can't strangle Ntoise Saliyo, because now you're killing each other. It's no longer about what you're building. It's no longer about honoring God with that covenant or that decision to be in that union. But now it's about pride. It's about us. It's about how you make me feel. It's about how you think I make you feel. It's no longer about what we're assigned to do as a couple. You know. So we then ended up separating.
So how do you, like, how's the family, or let me ask you, would you say your infertility issues caused the division in your marriage?
I would say 50%.
Okay.
I don't want to talk down on some of the other, because there are other issues in marriage, guys. Chelete iyaqabanya.
Too much.
The family themselves, iyaqabanya, and haholo. But the fact that you no longer have control over your mind because of infertility or your emotions. You're no longer in control. You're going through grief because you have been traumatized. You're going through a renewed sense of hope because you still want something to happen. But also in the midst of that, it no longer, you've lost the center of why you're seeking all of these things. You've lost the center because putting your trust and your covenant in your marriage and everything that you hope for in God will lead to some of the things that you need being realized. But I'm so fixated by my trauma. I'm so fixated about trying to be hopeful. Listen, you said have hope. I'm having hope. God, I'm here. I'm trying. I'm hopeful. But your hope is decading.
Yeah.
So, because we lost sight of what we're doing, because of the infertility, it did lead to the marriage falling apart. I can definitely say that, because once you lose sense of self, even the other things that you could work on in the marriage now become amplified. You fight over it. Everything is a problem.
It's a problem.
And there's nothing that reminds you about, this is the man of my dreams. This is the man that I love. He's a man that makes me want to be a virtuous woman and seek God more with my life. You lose sight of that completely. It's like a clog, what infertility does.
Sure.
The trauma of it, you can't see tomorrow as being possible, because number one, it's not just internally what's happening within yourself in your marriage, but outside. The fact that I can't even talk about my problems. In-laws, I can't even get my mother-in-law, because already for them, they're already expecting.
They're already expecting a child.
With friends. Birthday, the baby shower. You're afraid of those things because you already can see the world. Exactly. Yeah. And you wonder, when am I going to be next? Why does this have to happen to me? And why does this have to be put in my face?
Yeah.
And not realizing that other people are not aware of internally the turmoil that's happening with you. So when you're already that kind of a person, you become very unhealthy for marriage. Marriage no longer becomes a thing that is good for you. So you need to go through a process of really reteaching yourself and actively trying to heal from trauma by introducing mechanisms that can help you see past the trauma when it gets triggered, and how to trust the environment around you to catch you.
Yeah.
Creating safe spaces around you for you to feel safer when you feel that vulnerable and you start feeling triggered, So, but yes, definitely 50% of the reason that marriage ended was because of my infertility.
Would you say, does your husband have children?
No, he doesn't.
Okay, I want to ask this biology. I don't know biology, but I want to ask that, for example, you were having the pregnancies, but they were not staying long term, right? Is it like biology-wise, would you also say maybe it's the husband's sperm that is not fertile enough or does not stick? I don't know. Does not.
I always believe that, and this is what we also say when we do our awareness work, is that an infertility condition is not a woman's condition. Despite what history and culture will have us believe, it really is a couple's journey. It is a two people journey, because it takes an egg and it takes one sperm to make an embryo or a baby. So there's no way that I could say that it was his problem or that it was my problem. And I was so grateful to have a partner who understood that, who wanted to do the journey with me together, who found a sense of accountability as well. So that's why it's so good that whenever you start family planning, when you go to your fertility specialist or your gynecologist, go with your husband, go with your partner, go with him, so that you both can get tested and then be able to discern whether there is sperm quality issues with your husband.
That's what I want to say.
Maybe there's a problem with the prostate in terms of the transport for, the semen that has to go to the transport that goes into your womb. Maybe the egg, the quality, the shape, the density of the sperm is not looking good. There are things that are available out there for men to medicate themselves with and become better in terms of the quality of their sperm so they can aid the process. Because without the good sperm, without the transport, there's no way that the good sperm can land in the woman's womb, you see. And then let's have a look at the lady as well. You know, it's not just like what my GP did with me, where he just said, probably you're not ovulating. He just picked in the air without doing the investigation. You need to look at the patient. This is what I pray that every woman is cognizant of when they go start their fertility journey, to have a doctor who's interested in investigating your problem. Check the blood. Check structurally what's happening. Ask what the symptoms are. What are you feeling? Take all of that and then prescribe a diagnosis that can help me, because we end up losing hope because doctors don't take the time to investigate what my problem is, so you can give me a solution that can work for me, you know?
Yeah.
So definitely go check if there's blocked tubes. Go check if maybe there isn't a problem with your uterine lining, endometriosis, some of the other conditions that exist out there that can cause infertility. And making sure to protect yourself, because some of the problems we end up having are because of a history of scarring due to STIs and STDs, because we think that, okay, once the antibiotic I deal with it and it gets flushed out of my system, I'm fine. But you end up staying with some of that scarring. And that scarring can also cause infertility conditions or symptoms that can lead you to struggle to conceive, you know, so...
Yeah. Would you say that maybe not even the delay, like the fact that you went to you went to a wrong doctor.
Yes, definitely.
You went to a GP instead of a gynecologist.
Correct, yes.
So should anybody out there don't go to a GP, go to a gynecologist?
I would say that initially, if you are starting out,
Yeah.
your self-discovery as a woman, and this starts as early as your puberty years and all of that, it's good to go see a GP just to make sure if you feel fine, prescribe for you if you want to go that journey of contraceptives, which personally I don't prescribe. I think there is a lot of benefit in just abstinence, because there's a part of me that feels like had I not taken the concoction of those contraceptive methods I'd be in a better position right now. So abstinence, I advocate for it. I think it's possible if we start to groom high value young ladies who pride themselves in their purity. You know, you can really abstain and grow to be a Christ-centered woman if you practice abstinence. But if there's already underlying conditions where your period takes too long, it's too heavy, it's extremely painful, and you're still in high school, take that child to the gynecologist. Let the gynecologist do an investigation to see what could be the problem, because conditions like PCOS and endometriosis start as early as your teenage years. It's just that we never pick it up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You only pick it up when she gets older, and the endometriosis has grown to such a point where she's debilitated. She can't even go to work. That's how much pain she's under, because that tissue grows all over their pelvis inside, and it makes it hard to move around, to wake up sometimes, you know? So, and then once you move into the next stage of your life and you get into marriage, definitely see a fertility specialist. So these are specialized gynecologists, OB-GYNs that are trained to prescribe treatment options and medications for people with infertility as a condition, and some of the other symptoms and disorders and illnesses and diseases that exist in that category of infertility, like your polycystic ovarian syndrome, your endometriosis, adenomyosis. There's so many other infertility conditions that exist that can lead you to not be able to conceive. So they are trained specifically for that. We even have a body in South Africa that accredits those specialists and those medications. You can find a list of them on their website. that's organically, that's the steps that I would recommend a person to take.
take.
Don't jump straight, yes, to the gynecologist if
Okay.
your condition is still manageable by a GP. But if you can see that the symptoms that are abnormal, go see a gynecologist. And once it gets elevated and you've tried and it's more than 6 months you've been trying, go see a fertility specialist. There are very good ones in South Africa. We actually have one of the best ones on the continent. So that's, I think, the order that I think I would advise a person to take. Yeah.
So as we are going into wrapping up, so you now get diagnosed with PCOS and the marriage is no longer there.
Yeah.
And where are you now and the work that you do? And how did you feel from realizing that you have this to now?
Coming out was hard. It was bravery. It was courage. It was but but at the same time, I always ask myself, what about the people who are saying nothing?
Yeah.
And I took the plunge and I just posted something on my Facebook, and I was surprised at the reception. I thought that I was going to be judged for talking about infertility. People are going to look at me differently. Oh, a kgono etsa bana. A le motle tje. And I was like,
O paletse ke lenyalo.
o paletswe ke lenyalo. And I was like, really, it's no longer about me. Christ calls us to be loving and love our neighbors more than we love ourselves.
Yeah.
What I'm doing right now is asking God to use me as a vessel to love on his people, to be a voice for women out there who are just like me, young, ambitious, who might be even in that career-driven, ambitious, and we tola Ali in this problem and they don't know where to begin and they don't know whether they can talk about it. Newlyweds who are excited about marriage and starting a family, and there's no one to talk about it. They don't even know whether what they're going through is normal or abnormal. I want to be that vessel for God to transform his people and share love and kindness about infertility as a condition, and to break the stigmas around judging women who are struggling with infertility, making them feel like they don't exist in the world because everything else is designed to fit other people but not for us.
I'm glad that you say that because, and I'm guilty of that. Like, I don't know, like, I'm guilty of not thinking that condition is serious.
Yeah.
Like, I when I sit with you now and I'm listening to you, I'm like, this is a serious thing.
It is.
But before this, or when you're having conversation and somebody says, I'm struggling to cancel, it doesn't like hit. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It's almost as if it's not a big deal, you know. And that time I've got children myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it doesn't, because number one, there is a silencer that exists in society about women who have infertility problems. There is not enough talks about it.
yes.
You only hear about it when somebody. So, watsiba ha motho a sokola with diabetes. You know, there's so much that's being said about HIV, and people have learned to live good lives.
Yes.
While suffering
Being
from
affected,
HIV.
infected.
And with infertility, there's no one.
There's no one.
In as much as the clinics and the hospitals can say, you go to a Netcare, they say no, they have a division where people can go, there's psychologists, but very few hospitals are even catering for that, even at a public government level. Oh, banana miscarriage, bale warding it.
I heard that apparently after you do my friend was telling me that she was in a ward where people are having children.
Correct.
And she just had removed an ectopic pregnancy.
Correct. It's because so much has been put on being able to fall pregnant and have a healthy birth. Then there is emphasis on falling pregnant and not it working. What happens to the person along the way? How do we provide the support and a medical support? Because that trauma that you experience after that loss is it's a medical, it's an anxiety, it's a depression, it's proper trauma
Ish.
that no one is talking about because no one is interested to find out when I was a honors and baba.
Yeah.
So unfortunately the barriers are still there, and for as long as no one is talking about it, no one is going to know about it. So this is what inspired in me to say, let me do this. There could be someone like me, and they could need a safe space to talk about how they're doing and, understand more about their condition, but more than anything, feel comfortable to share their story to help the next woman who's going through the same thing, because unfortunately, infertility doesn't even stop at you having, let's say you struggle with infertility for 4 years, 5 years, you have a baby, and then you think, sorry, that you're healed. It even carries on. It really, the trauma of that kind of loss carries on with me. We have women in our support group, our WhatsApp support group, who still stay in the support group because they know that, there's a lot of healing with being with people that understand what you're going through. And it carries on even after woman. And more than anything, just because I've been able to have my pregnancy doesn't mean that I need to lose the community, that women building each other, caring for each other, that information sharing about even conditions that can exist after pregnancy. Such a beautiful space to be in, because as women, we don't talk enough about some of these problems, your bodily health problems that have to do with your reproductive health. And that's why I keep saying that it doesn't end there. So it's about transforming people's hearts, bringing them closer to being informed and compassionate and really kind towards each other, and not make each other feel like they're any less, any woman is any less of a being, a strong being in God and in the world, just because of the fact that you struggle to have children. So I'm at that point in my life now where I'm continuing that awareness work. I share a lot of information with my followers about how to have mechanisms in your life that can help you respond to the trauma when it gets triggered. So how, your sister gets pregnant, or, things start happening around you that make you feel, people judge you. How do you respond to those? How do you create spaces around you, or, tap into skills that can help you feel better, every time you get triggered, or you feel stronger every time that you get triggered. But also I use my life as a canvas, like I said before, to paint a picture so that someone understands what it looks like to be a person struggling with infertility. I share my life story quite a lot. The painful parts, the good parts, the parts where I want to have hope about the future, so that it looks contextualized. You can see that there are people in the world who are just like me, who experience infertility and can still have happy and joyful lives while battling with the chronic conditions associated with infertility. So
yeah, and that's why I was like, it's very ignorant of people like myself not to take record or to actually understand that this is a problem, because it can also happen to a person like myself who's got 2 kids and I can't continue having children, And I sat with another woman here, and I think your episodes, I'll put them one after the other, right? When they watch this, when you are watching this, the viewers watch an episode before that aired before this one. It's a woman I sat with here. She has got a firstborn, and from there she's been losing pregnancies, and for her it's tricky because some were miscarriages, and then the child was 2 weeks, and the child was 5 months. So it can happen to anybody, even if you had kids before, because she does have a firstborn. But then the other multiple pregnancies, she could not.
That's true. It's called a form of secondary infertility. So it can happen with a person who's just had a pregnancy and then it didn't mature to a birth, but also people who have had a baby long time ago. Doesn't necessarily mean that you'll still have children carrying forward. This is also a form of infertility.
Yeah.
So people don't think that it's serious or it's worth being had because no, she's had a child. It's you as a person with secondary infertility.
Even
just
if
the
the
same as
child
me.
came out,
Yeah, it's
and you
still,
carry the child from like, sure,
it's still a form of infertility. It's called secondary infertility.
wow,
So this is some of the things that people are not aware of.
yeah,
Because no one is talking about it.
no one is talking about it.
So,
But we do have warriors like you.
yes.
Are you gonna have a podcast? Because are you gonna have a podcast? Is a podcast something in your pipelines?
Yes. I think there's a lot to unpack about individual conditions
Yes.
that can lead to infertility. So we are in the talking stages of trying to set this thing up in such a way where we create a space of comfort and support for people who are struggling with infertility,
Yeah.
but also to create an opportunity for experts in the space of which we have access to them. We have a very big network of doctors and specialists in the infertility space who are ready to talk about this because they understand that not enough information is out there. Put them in a room with a patient who's going through the same condition. Let's have a talk about this. What is the experience on the patient side? What is the experience on the expert side?
Yeah.
How can we bridge the two things together to address male factor infertility, endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and many other infertility conditions? So, yes, definitely in the pipeline because there is a need. There really
is a big need.
is a need. It doesn't mean that you have to spend 3,000, 5,000 rands to go see for consultation, to go see a specialist, whereas we can create a platform where we share that information with you, because that's what we also do in our support groups as well, is to share information with each other, because some of the members in the support groups are those healthcare professionals that can give advice from time to time, So yes, definitely.
Yeah. So guys, look out for that. We're gonna share her social platforms. Obviously, that's where you're gonna get her.
Yeah.
I've got, in closing, two last questions. One, I want to ask about your dating life now, and why I'm asking that is because I don't know if there are men that will know a lady who's openly speaks about their fertility issues and they want to be with you and marry you. The same way that back then I wouldn't think there would be a man, if I would come out with my HIV status, for example, would still be in a relationship with me. But now they are, and they're coming out like, I'm negative, my partner is positive, and we are together.
Yes.
Tell me about your dating, and the stigma around.
It's only hard if you are not true with yourself or true to yourself, and you've accepted where you are with your infertility journey. So for me, that was the first step.
Yeah.
And to a point where I really don't care whether it's in a room of people who are conservatives and they feel like you can't talk about something. I will say, sure, listen, I can't have children. And you almost do that sometimes as a way of avoiding people saying things that will make you feel uncomfortable. So you're already putting the elephant
Like
there. This is where I am. But in terms of men, personally in my dating life, I've been very fortunate to come across men who are ready to take me and my baggage, who are interested in understanding the spirit. And I think it also lies in the fact that I'm authentically myself in all that I do. I keep party, I live life purely and freely the way I am. And I'm a very honest, cutthroat kind of person. I'm very straightforward with how I manage my relationships with everybody, friends, whatever you want to call it, even colleagues at work. I'm a very straightforward person. It gives me an opportunity to be vulnerable because I'm not hiding behind things. So I can really be present in that relationship. So I've been fortunate with that I come across. I don't know if it's also the courage that they also see in the fact that you don't mind being that free, that you become a little bit more attractive as a woman, that you're living within yourself. About how happy, how tsusuki, getting to because sometimes we are so fake as women that we're so interested in finding a man who will marry me that I'm willing to fit into this box. I want to be what he needs just so that I can get what I want. But you never realize that in being yourself and being within where you need to be with God, you become more attractive to the man because you're so good at being you. Woman. So that's where I've been, and currently dating. Not
Men?
sure to what end,
Yeah.
but I'm grateful to have someone in my life who really understands me, and all the other symptoms that come with infertility. Because there are days where I'll just wake up and I want to cry, and he's there. You know, he might not understand what's happening, but he's there, and he really carries me and holds me together, and wants to understand. The best thing I love about him is that he wants to understand more about this condition so that he can tailor how he loves me. Because at the end of the day, loving someone is really not about you. It really is about the person who's been given the love. So I get low rata because I want you to do something for me. Loving you gives me gratification. That's it. So he wants to understand more about what's happening with me so that he can tailor the way that he loves me
you
in a way that helps me feel more loved by him.
so that he can meet you at the point of
my need.
Yeah.
Exactly. You put it just perfectly.
Yeah. So does it mean you will never have children in your life?
No. So the way that my infertility is structured, I don't call it structured, but I have structural issues. So my eggs are good. My womb is fine except some of those fibroids, but because of health lifestyle changes like food, exercising, I've been able to manage the growth of my fibroids. So they're not as big as they were before. By God's grace, also in praying, because sometimes the fibroids are also spiritual issues, you know. So that is under control. And then the only way then, because I don't have the tubes, I need to consider then having an IVF. And this year was my year of 5, the year that I decided that I will attempt it. But God willing, we've started the journey with a good fertility center in Pretoria. And, we're still trying to get more information, try to get the body ready, and also financially just to make sure that everything is aligned. Because infertility treatments are expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
Yeah. You don't even understand why the government are not subsidizing them, because it's a pandemic.
It's expensive. We have public hospitals that do them, but at a cheaper rate, but you still have to pay.
But I'm sure you'll be like number 100 on the list.
Yes, and it takes, waiting list at then can be 3 years to 4 years. So, but in some clinics, I think it's Tygerberg and there's Steve Biko in Pretoria, some of the good public hospitals that give it. And just check your options there in terms of the waiting list. But I know Steve Biko is quite a long line because everyone literally central Johannesburg, which is the hub of the country, that come through and want to get that treatment. But it's very expensive. It's truly, you're looking at almost 120,000 Rand for just one cycle. So,
and it's not a deal that it's gonna.
Yes, it's not guaranteed. That it will happen. But we're fortunate to have some healthcare providers, healthcare medical aid schemes that can cover the procedure, but not 100% again also. So having to take on this infertility treatment, which is IVF, is you have to do a lot of planning, do a lot of research, so we are at that point, and I'm excited to see if this can be something that will happen for me.
Yeah,
because I want to be a mom. I feel like I'm fortunate, unlike other infertility warriors where they had to take out their womb or the endometriosis got so bad that their womb is looking like something chewed up.
Okay.
I still have a chance to try. But God willing, fingers crossed that it happens. Maybe next time when I come back, I'll be carrying my baby.
Oh my gosh. You'll be telling us about your success story. Yes. I love that. We wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Lastly, as we have wrapped up, actually, this is the last question. Yes. As a Christian woman, you speak so much about God, Jesus. As a Christian woman in the Bible, women are supposed to give birth, Yes. It's our portion. How do you reconcile your situation and that of other women and what the Bible and God has put us here as women, womb men?
Yeah. It's a spiritual warfare for me. And it has been for some time. And I literally had to contact one of my ministers at church and say, listen, I'm struggling with this. I don't know how to bridge the gap. And the biggest thing that was a takeaway through consultation and delving into the Bible and talking, reading in some of those books where you mentioned some of those women who are in the Bible is infertility really is a spirit. For me, I feel like it is a spirit that the devil has breathed into the world. And it could also be a consequence of, some sinful nature within us, because in our blood is sin because of what happened in Genesis, And when I took up salvation and I decided to follow Christ in my life, and I started seeing positive transformation in my life in terms of my fertility journey. Like I was speaking about my fibroids.
Yeah.
Shrinking a little bit more. Yes, the symptoms are there and it's still hard to live with having fibroids, but there is a healing power that comes from accepting Christ and being adopted as a child of God. There is a sense of healing that you receive from that. You may not see it in the way that you want, but it's happening slowly but surely, And in terms of trying to conceive, I speak of the story of Isaac, who was a man who prayed over his wife's life. And this warrants us to aspire to have men who will pray over our infertility situation. A man who will say, this is my wife that I love with all of my heart. God, see her pain, see her cries. Please breathe life into her womb. This is a caliber of men that we want to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in terms of internally, within yourself, we need to be women who are inspired to seek God so much that the promises of our heart lie in Him. Be a Hannah kind of woman who seeks God so much, wants God so much, that even when you have what you have, you understand that you're a vessel. And everything that comes from you should go back to God as thanksgiving. That child should be a Samuel kind of child that you take back to God. So that's how I try to reconcile the two. But in terms of having hope, truly for me lies in my understanding of why I'm saved. It's in my understanding of what obedience in God has for me in terms of righteousness, and to understand that even when I don't see it, God is at work. God is eternally at work and for our good. He's a God who's full of love, who will never leave us or forsake us. So that's how I've been able to reconcile the two. And it's hard along the way to be a faithful Christian when you're going through infertility, but when you sit in that, it helps you to feel healthier and to feel stronger.
Hannah said, for this child I have prayed.
Yeah.
And God has granted me.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But Matshepo, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your platform, and I really hope that you also continue to, grow.
Yeah.
So that more women can be transformed and share their stories and where they're going through and help another woman who might be struggling from the same thing.
Yeah.
But thank you so much.
Thank you. We are going to share your TikTok.
Yes.
So that people can follow you.
Yes.
And they can find a community. Can you say your WhatsApp number, or they must just come to your TikTok? You'll direct them.
Yes. So on my TikTok page in the bio, there is a link.
Okay, to
for
the WhatsApp
a WhatsApp group. So you just tap that link, it will take you to the WhatsApp group where you'll find hundreds and hundreds of other ladies who are just like you, who are willing and ready to receive you. But on my page itself, that's where you'll find all the content, some of the information sharing, invitations for seminars, even coffee dates, just to catch up with each other.
You need a community.
Yeah, so building a community, really. Yeah. So everything will be on the TikTok page.
Bio.
Yeah.
All right, guys. It's Love and Light from myself and Matshepo. Don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to reach 100K by my birthday, which is June. So please hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.